Hey everybody, welcome back to Kill Jester, and this is your host Chase Daniel. And today we get back into relationships. A woman wrote an accountability journal where she admitted to being a narcissist. She acknowledged she has NPD. She asked her husband Don to help her work through it. She wrote about how she needs to be held accountable, how she loves annoying him, how she gets a rush from it. After she left, Don posted her journal entry on Facebook. His message, "My ex-wife legally smeared me. The impact on my psyche was devastating." According to Dawn, this journal proves she's the narcissist who abused him. But here's where it gets interesting, because after she left, after this allegedly narcissistic abusive woman left her victim husband, she filed a restraining order against him. So we've got two possible scenarios here. The wife is genuinely a narcissist. She's self-aware enough to recognize it, asked her husband for help, documented her patterns in this journal, and then classic narcissist move, filed a false restraining order to smear him when the relationship ended. Or the wife is not a narcissist, Don is. He convinced her she's the problem, made her keep this accountability journal as proof, and now he's posting it to continue controlling the narrative after she escaped and got legal protection from him. One of these scenarios is true, the other one's a lie. And forensic statement analysis will tell us which one. Because here's the thing, you can claim to be a narcissist, you can write that you're a narcissist, but your language reveals the truth about who has the power, who's in control, and who's really being victimized. So I'm going to analyze this journal entry not with assumptions, but with statement analysis. We're going to look at what she actually wrote, what the language patterns reveal, and let the words tell us who's really the narcissist here. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly who's telling the truth. So let's get into it. So this journal entry was posted on Facebook by a man I call Don. His version of events: "My ex-wife legally smeared me. The impact on my psyche was devastating." So according to Don, his wife acknowledged herself as a covert narcissist. She asked him to help her work through it. He reluctantly obliged under the condition she show tangible evidence of corrected behavior. Reading narcissism literature became part of that accountability process. She kept this accountability journal documenting her narcissistic patterns. Sounds like a self-aware narcissist seeking help from a supportive spouse. But then the relationship ended. A couple months later, Don tells her he's done and wants a divorce. She leaves abruptly without explaining where she's going. She moves all of her belongings out in one night while he's at work. The breakup was not tumultuous at all, according to Don. She was apologizing and expressing love. And then the legal action. Don receives divorce paperwork and a restraining order filed by her against him. So here's the question we need to answer. Number one, the wife is generally narcissistic. She manipulated Don into thinking he was helping her while she was actually abusing him. When he finally had enough and asked for a divorce, she fled and weaponized the court system with a false restraining order to smear him. Classic narcissist revenge. Or Don's the narcissist. He convinced his wife she had NPD, made her read narcissism literature, forced her to keep an accountability journal proving it, and when she finally escaped and got legal protection, he posted her journal as evidence to continue controlling the narrative. So one of these is true, the other one is manipulation. The journal entry will tell us which one, because language doesn't lie. Even when people think they're hiding the truth, their words reveal who has the power, who's in control, and who's really being victimized. Let's see what actually she wrote. Up on your screen is the journal entry. I'm going to read it once for you, and then we'll analyze every line. She starts out, "Is there a way to hold a narcissist accountable? For a MPD, accountability feels like shame. Leverage is the only way for MPD to be held accountable. Leverage is the relationship. I personally need to take Don's leverage more serious when he says stuff like, if you're not comfortable with accountability, don't talk about having kids. It's fair because if I'm uncomfortable with basic accountability, how will I grow? Accountability strips MPD down. Self-awareness won't be enough to change the MPD. There's MPD who are self-aware and don't want to do the work and go back to hurting people. Narcissists get their ego boost from tormenting, taunting, and punishing whoever is their chosen target. They gain control by getting an emotional reaction. Yes or no? That's deep because I love annoying Don. It's almost like a rush from it. So now we'll analyze this journal line by line using statement analysis principles. We're looking for power dynamics. Who has the control? Ownership language. Whose actions are being described? Question versus statement patterns. Certainty or uncertainty. Victim versus perpetrator patterns. Who's acting? Who's reacting? Let's go through every sentence in order. So the first one is there a way to hold a narcissist accountable? Notice this is a question, not a statement. She's not saying, I need to be held accountable. She's asking if it's even possible. Why does this matter? When someone is genuinely working on themselves, they say, I need to be accountable. How do I hold myself accountable? I want to be more accountable. But she's asking, is there a way? This suggests she's wrestling with a concept, not documenting her own behavior. Apply this to both scenarios. If she's the narcissist, a self-aware narcissist would know what accountability means for her specifically. So she's asking a general theoretical question about narcissists as a category. Or the other scenario, he's the narcissist. She's been told she's a narcissist. She's reading literature. She's trying to figure out, if I'm a narcissist, can I even be held accountable? Is it possible? This is someone trying to understand a label that's been put on her. So what does this suggest? If she's a narcissist, why is she questioning whether accountability is possible? If he's the narcissist, she's trying to understand a diagnosis he gave her. So the evidence direction in that sentence is, it suggests she's learning about NPD from external sources, not documenting lived experience. We'll go on to lines 2 through 4. For our NPD, accountability feels like shame. Leverage is the only way for NPD to be held accountable. Leverage is the relationship. So 3 statements here, let's break them down. For a NPD, accountability feels like shame. She's speaking about NPD in third person. For a NPD, not for me or for my NPD. This is textbook language. She's parroting what she's read. Narcissism literature often says narcissists experience accountability as shame because their ego can't handle being wrong. Leverage is the only way for NPD to be held accountable. Leverage, this is the key word. Leverage, what does that mean? Using one thing to force another thing. Do X or lose Y. She's saying the only way to hold a narcissist accountable is through leverage. Leverage is the relationship. And what is the leverage? The relationship itself is what she's saying. Translation, do what I say or I'll leave you. Now, here's the critical question. Who is using leverage in this relationship? We're about to find out. So what does this suggest in this lines 2 through 4? She's documenting that accountability for NPD creates shame, not growth. The method being used is leverage. That leverage is threatening the relationship. Is she documenting her tactics or his tactics? The next line is going to tell us. And so we'll move on to lines 5 to 7. I personally need to take Don's leverage more serious when he says stuff like, if you're not comfortable with accountability, don't talk about having kids. It's fair because if I'm uncomfortable with basic accountability, how will I grow? This is where everything comes clear. Don's leverage, not my leverage, not the leverage I use, not leverage in general. Don's leverage. She just told us that leverage is the only way to hold NPD accountable, and leverage is the relationship. And now she tells us who leverage it is. It's Don's. Apply this to both scenarios. Now, if she's the narcissist, why would a narcissist in her own accountability journal document that her victim has leverage over her? Narcissists document their own power, not their victim's power. Or he's a narcissist. She's documenting his control tactic. He uses a relationship as leverage. He threatens to withhold what she wants, children, the relationship itself, unless she complies. When he says stuff like, if you're not comfortable with accountability, don't talk about having kids. This is a direct quote from Don. She's documenting what he said to her. Let's analyze Don's statement. If you're not comfortable with accountability, that equals you must meet my standard. Don't talk about having kids equals or you lose what you want. This is conditional love. This is weaponizing her desire for children. It's fair because if I'm uncomfortable with basic accountability, how will I grow? And now she's rationalizing his threat as fair. She's convincing herself that Don's ultimatum is justified, that being uncomfortable with his control is her problem. This is classic victim mentality. Victims rationalize their abuser's behavior. He's right. I need to change. It's fair that he sets boundaries. Or if I just did better, this wouldn't happen. What this reveals, who has the power? Don does. Who uses leverage? Don uses leverage. Who weaponizes children? Don. Who accepts the abuse as fair? She does. So the evidence of that, this is a pattern of abuse, not narcissism, and she's documenting his control. So we move on to line 8. Accountability strips down MPD down. Again, third person language, MPD, not me. This is textbook language from narcissism literature. She's reading that accountability stripped down the narcissist's defenses. But here's the key. If Don's accountability feels like shame, as she wrote earlier, and it strips her down, that doesn't sound like healthy growth. That sounds like being broken down, demoralized, shamed into submission. What this suggests, she's experiencing Don's accountability as destructive, stripped down, not constructive, but convincing herself that this is what's supposed to happen to narcissists. So on to line 9 and 10. Self-awareness won't be enough to change the MPD. There's MPD who are self-aware and don't want to do the work and go back to hurting people. So more textbook language. This is straight from narcissism recovery literature. The concept, some narcissists are self-aware but still choose not to change. But notice, she's writing about narcissists in general. There's MPD who, not I might be one of those MPD who. She's learning about narcissism, not documenting her narcissism. What this suggests, this reads like study notes, not self-reflection. She's trying to understand whether self-awareness alone is enough or if she needs Don's leverage to actually change. And then lines 11 through 12. Narcissists get their ego boost from tormenting, taunting, and punishing whoever is their chosen target. They gain control by getting an emotional reaction, yes or no. So notice the symbol suggests this is a highlighted section, something she's paying special attention to. And notice she's reading a description of narcissistic behavior and asking herself yes or no. Does this still apply to me? Yes or no? This is critical. If she were a narcissist actively tormenting Don, she wouldn't be questioning whether she describes her. She'd either deny it, no, that's not me, rationalize it, he deserves it, not even question it, lack of self-awareness. But she's asking, does this describe me? That's not narcissistic behavior. That's victim behavior. Someone who's been told they're a narcissist, reading literature, trying to figure out, am I this? Do I do this? Evidence in that direction. Narcissists don't worry about their narcissist. She's worried about it. And then the last lines, 13 and 14. That's deep because I love annoying Don. It's almost like a rush from it. This is the line Don posted as proof. She admits she loves annoying me. She gets a rush from tormenting me. But let's analyze what this actually says. That's deep. She's reacting to what she just read about narcissists getting ego boosts from tormenting people. And she's thinking that's deep because she's connecting it to her own behavior. But is the connection accurate? I love annoying Don. What does annoying Don actually mean? In a healthy relationship, playful teasing, harmless pranks, gentle ribbing. In a controlling relationship, having opinions, setting boundaries, saying no, resisting control, standing up for yourself. Which one gives you a rush? Playful annoying doesn't give you the rush. It's just fun. But resisting control, standing your ground after being suppressed, that gives a rush because it feels like freedom. It's almost like a rush from it. She's questioning whether this feeling makes her a narcissist. She reads, narcissists get ego boosts from tormenting people. She thinks I get a rush when I annoy Don. Does that mean I'm tormenting him? Here's the critical insight. If she were genuinely tormenting Don for narcissistic supply, she wouldn't be questioning it. She wouldn't be reading literature and worrying, does this make me a narcissist? She'd just be doing it. But she's worried. She's questioning it. She's connecting dots that might not connect. And that's not narcissist behavior. That's a victim who's been gaslit into thinking her resistance equals abuse. So back to our scenarios. If she's the narcissist, why is she questioning whether feeling good about annoying her partner makes her abusive? Narcissists don't worry about this. They justify their behavior or don't even see it as problematic. Or he's the narcissist. She's been reading literature Don gave her. She stands up to Don and it feels empowering. She reads, narcissists get rushed from tormenting and thinks, oh no, is that me? Don has convinced her that her resistance equals her narcissism. So the evidence direction there is she's been gaslit into thinking standing up for herself is tormenting Don. So as we always do, let's review what we found analyzing every line of this journal entry. Is there a way? Questioning, not documenting lived experience. Lines 2 through 4. Leverage establishes a method equals someone is using it. Lines 5 through 7. Don's leverage. He has the power. He weaponizes children. She accepts it as fair. Line 8. Stripped down. She experiences shame, not growth. Lines 9 and 10. Textbook language. She's learning about MPD, not documenting it. Lines 11 through 12, yes or no. She's questioning if this describes her. Lines 13 through 14, rush from annoying. She's worried resistance makes her abusive. Every single line reveals the same pattern. She's not documenting narcissistic behavior. She's documenting being given a diagnosis of MPD, reading literature about that diagnosis, trying to figure out if it applies to her. Experiencing Don's accountability as shame, accepting Don's leverage as fair, worrying that standing up for herself equals abuse. This is not narcissist journal. It's a victim's journal. Continuing with restraining order section. The complicating factor is the restraining order. Remember the facts. After Don told her he wanted a divorce, she left abruptly, moved everything out in one night, while he was at work. According to Don, the breakup was not tumultuous at all. She was apologizing and expressing love. And then she filed a restraining order against him. Now, I need to be very clear about something. Restraining orders do not tell us who the real abuser is. Why? Because narcissists weaponize restraining orders as a darvo tactic. What's darvo? Darvo is deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. Let's analyze this through both scenarios. If she's the narcissist, narcissists, when losing control of their victim, often file false restraining orders first to control the narrative, use the legal system as a weapon, create official documentation that they were the victim, weaponize social bias, especially female narcissists against male victims. Courts often believe women by default. Preemptively strike before the real victim can expose them, twist normal arguments into abuse in court documents, use the restraining order as a shield. I have a restraining order against him. Clearly, I'm the victim. This is extremely common. Real abuse victims often can't get restraining orders because the narcissist has already filed one against them. If she's the narcissist, the restraining order is a weapon. It's part of the smear campaign. It's her creating proof she was victimized when she was actually the abuser. Or he's the narcissist. A real victim escaping a narcissistic abuser would leave when the abuser isn't home for safety. Take everything in one trip. There's no reason to return. Might still apologize, trauma bonding, years of being told everything is her fault. File for legal protection, knows the abuser might retaliate. If he's the narcissist, the restraining order is genuine protection. She needed legal barriers because she feared retaliation. So which is it? Because both scenarios come into play when a relationship ends with a narcissistic personality disorder within the relationship. Because here's the truth. We can't know from the restraining order alone. Narcissists file restraining orders. Victims file restraining orders. The legal system can be weaponized by either side. And this is especially true when female narcissists target male victims. Social bias works in her favor. The narcissist is savvy enough to get there first with legal action. Think of Amber Heard. The narcissist has been documenting evidence like this journal to use later. So look, I know this from personal experience. This isn't theoretical. Real victims, especially male victims of female narcissists, get hit with false restraining orders all the time. It's a weapon. It's a shield. It's a way to control the narrative and make the real abuser look like the victim. I've experienced it myself twice. False restraining orders with twisted arguments and false accusations, creating proof I was the abuser when I was really the victim. So if we can't use the restraining orders to determine who's the narcissist, who can we use? The journal itself, because you can weaponize the legal system, you can file false documents, you can manipulate courts, but you can't fake language patterns. The language journal will tell who's really in control here. So my verdict, we can't use a restraining order, that's ambiguous. Could be weaponized by either side, but we can use the journal because language patterns don't lie. We analyzed every single line. We looked at who asked the question, uncertainty versus certainty. Who owns the power language? Dawn's leverage. Who takes responsibility? She does all of it. Who uses threats? Dawn does. Who questions themselves? She does constantly. Here's what the forensic statement analysis of the journal reveals. 14 lines analyzed. Number 1, questioning if accountability is possible. She's learning not documenting. Line 2 and 4, leverage as a method equals someone is using it. Line 5 and 7, Dawn's leverage equals weaponizing children. He has the power. Strips down, experiencing destruction, not growth. Lines 9 and 10, textbook language, study notes, not self-reflection. Lines 11 and 12, yes and no, questioning if this describes her. Lines 13 and 14, rush from annoying, worried resistance, that equals abuse. 13 out of 14 lines point toward Dawn being the narcissist. Only line 8, strips down, is somewhat ambiguous. So my verdict, Dawn is the abuser. She's the victim in this scenario. The journal doesn't document her narcissism. It documents her being controlled. So Dawn, if you posted a journal where the victim wrote Dawn's leverage, your control tactics, I need to take his threat seriously, your threats. Dawn says don't talk about kids. That's your ultimatum. I personally need to. She takes all the responsibility. Yes and no. She questions if she's the problem. So Dawn posting this on Facebook, trying to prove that she's the narcissist. This is like posting a contract that says, I hereby control you, and claiming it proves the other person was controlling. The language doesn't lie. And your evidence, Dawn, just proved you're the one with all the power. So why does this matter? Here's what Dawn, this is his tactic. This is a very common tactic, and this is what he's doing. Number 1, convince your victim they're the narcissist. Make them read narcissism literature so they identify with it. Make them keep an accountability journal documenting their narcissism. When they escape, weaponize the journal publicly. And then a bonus, file for restraining order first or use their RO as proof they're vindictive. It's brilliant. Actually, it's kind of a sick way because now you have written confession from the victim, legal documentation, social proof, Facebook post showing everyone what you endured. Except forensic statement analysis reveals the truth because you can force someone to write a journal. You can weaponize the legal system. You can control the social narrative, but you can't fake who has the power in the language. And in this journal, Don has all the power. His leverage, his ultimatums, his standards, his accountability. She's trying to meet them, failing and taking the blame for it. That's not a narcissist. That's the victim. So in closing, we start this video with a question. Is the wife really the narcissist or is it Don? We couldn't use external evidence like restraining orders. Those can be weaponized by either side. So we analyzed the journal language. We looked at power dynamics. We examined who owns the control. And every pattern points the same direction. Don is the abuser. The journal proves it. Not because of what happened after, because of what she wrote while it was happening. Don's leverage, Don says, don't talk about kids. I need to take this threat seriously. That's not a narcissist documenting her patterns. That's a victim documenting her controller. And here's why this matters. This is a sophisticated narcissist playbook. Convince the victim they're the narcissist. Make them keep accountability journals proving it. When they escape, weaponize the journal publicly. Weaponize the legal system, filing a restraining order first, or use their restraining order against them. Control the narrative with proof. It's devastatingly effective because now the narcissist has written confession from the victim, legal documentation, social proof, look what I endured. And it's especially effective against male victims. Female narcissists can weaponize social bias. Courts often believe women by default. Society assumes men are the abusers. So a female narcissist files a restraining order with twisted arguments and false accusations, gets it approved, and now has proof she was victimized. Meanwhile, the real victim, often male, gets to anyone to believe him because she's got the first with the legal system. I know this because it happened to me. False restraining orders, twisted arguments framed as abuse, legal weapons used to hide their abuse and make the male look like the abuser or the other party. So when I analyze this journal, I'm not assuming the restraining order proves anything. I'm looking at the language because that's what actually reveals power dynamics. To the woman who wrote this journal, if you're out there, I don't know if you're the victim or the narcissist with 100% certainty. The language pattern strongly suggests you're the victim, but I acknowledge there's a small possibility this was sophisticated manipulation. What I can say, if Don made you keep this journal, if he convinced you you're broken, if his accountability felt like shame, you might not be the narcissist. You might have been convinced that you are, though. So if she generally abused you, this is to Don. If she weaponized the legal system against you, if this journal is her actual narcissistic patterns, I hear you. Male victims of female narcissists are real. False restraining orders are real. The bias against male victims is real. But the language in this journal, Don's leverage, Don's threats, yes and no, suggests you had the power, not her. So to anyone watching who's been accused of being a narcissist, if your partner convinced you're the narcissist, made you keep accountability journals, used leverage and threats disguised as boundaries, weaponized your dreams, kids, marriage, security, made accountability feel like constant shame, takes credit for helping you while doing no work, you might not be the narcissist, you might be the victim. To male victims specifically, I see you. Female narcissists weaponize social bias. They file false restraining orders. They twist your words. They make you look like the abuser. And nobody believes you because society assumes women are victims and men are abusers. But forensic statement analysis doesn't care about gender. It cares about power dynamics. And if your accountability journal shows your partner having all the leverage, all the control, all the threats, you're not the narcissist, you're being controlled. And remember, you can fake legal documents, you can manipulate courts, you can control social narratives, but you can't fake language patterns. Power reveals itself in pronouns, ownership, and who takes responsibility. Subscribe if you want to learn to analyze language patterns, because in a world where anyone can weaponize the legal system, understanding statement analysis might be the only way to see the truth. Specific equal communication. Vagueness equals control. And in this journal, all the specifics reveal Dawn's control, whether that makes him the abuser or whether she created this journal to frame him. The language patterns point strongly towards Dawn being the narcissist. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.